As a child, I would feel total exhilaration from the phrase climbing high into the sun. From that moment, I knew that I was a part of those who loved and understood the vastness of the sky. Working as a psychiatrist, I saw many clients that suffered from depressive manic illness. I think some part of me instinctively reached out and in an odd way understood this pain, never imagining that I would someday look into the mirror and see that same insanity and sadness in my own eyes. I constantly found myself gliding, flying, and now and again lurching through cloud banks, past stars, and across fields of ice crystals in the glorious illusion of my planet. Even now, I can see in my mind the rather extraordinary shattering and shifting of light in constant but ravishing colors laid out across miles of circling rings. As I swept past those of Saturn, I saw and experienced that which had only been my dreams or a fit for fragments of aspiration. I missed Saturn very much. It was a place I'd went to often. In college, I would stare out the window, stare at my books, read them, rearrange them, shuffle them, leave them unopened, and think about dropping out. When I did go to class, it was pointless and painful. I understood very little of what was going on, and I felt as though only dying would release me from the overwhelming sense of inadequacy and blackness that surrounded me. I felt utterly alone, and watching the animated conversations between my fellow students only made me feel more so. My mind was incapable of concentrated thought, and because of this, it turned time again and again to the subject of death. I was going to die. What difference did it make? Life's run was only a short and meaningless one, so why live? I was totally exhausted and could scarcely pull myself out of bed in the mornings and get dressed. It took me twice as long to walk anywhere as it ordinarily did, and I wore the same clothes over and over again, as it was otherwise too much of an effort to make a decision about what to put on. I dreaded having to talk with people, avoiding my friends whenever possible, and I sat in the school library in the early mornings and late afternoon with a dead heart and a brain as cold as clay. My soul maintained its deadly sleep, and my heart bled from 1,000 wounds. When my first manic happened, the intensity and sadness of classical music became unbearable to me. I became impatient with the pace, as well as overwhelmed by the emotion. My awareness and experience of sound in general was intense. The chaos of my mind began to mirror the chaos of my room. I could no longer process what I was hearing. I became confused, scared, and disoriented. Slowly, the darkness began to wave itself into my mind, and before long, I was hopelessly out of control. I could not follow the path of my own thoughts. Sentences flew around my head and fragmented first into phrases and then words. Finally, only sound remained. Then, horrifyingly, the image that had previously just been inside my head was now completely outside of it. There is a particular kind of pain, loneliness, and terror involved in these kinds of madness. The ideas and the feelings are fast and frequent, like shooting stars, and you follow them until you find a better and brighter one. After this, I began to question everything. How many hours of sleep had I been getting? Did I have any problems in concentrating? Had I been more talkative than usual? Did I talk faster than usual? Had anyone told me to slow down or that they couldn't make sense out of what I was saying? Were other people saying that they were having difficulty keeping up with me? Had my own thoughts been going so quickly that I had difficulty keeping track of them? Had I spent more money? Acted impulsively? Had I had any visions or heard sounds or voices that other people probably hadn't seen or heard? Had I ever had any of these symptoms earlier in my life? Why did I not recognize it? Did anybody else in my family have any sort of problem similar to mine? Which of my feelings are real? Which of the me's is me?